Well, good afternoon, evening, or morning, YouTubers. Diamonds Log Arc Date 2014, 11-18. Wanted to touch base on a few things. I've been talking about, survival out there. Seeing some cold weather, and I want to comment on a few things there. I'm going to put a link in here for an article that Marjorie Wildcraft has put out. I'll put it down below, as everybody says, where you're down there. It's on wrapping your kidneys. So if you're exposed to the weather a lot, one of the best ways to prevent cooling your blood too much is to wrap your kidneys. Another one, a very simple one, oh, I should have had one, a handkerchief, and just wrap it around your neck. That protects your carotid arteries. I learned that in somebody that had been out every other weekend camping year-round in Denver, well, up in the mountains, hiking 14,000 footers. Something as simple as just a regular handkerchief. I mean, a little bit better insulation would be nice, but handkerchief prevents your blood from cooling before it hits your brain. You chill your blood, your brain gets sluggish, you start slowing down. If you've been out in cold weather, you've seen it. I've been out in plenty of cold weather, lived in the mountains, lived in Colorado, played in the mountains, hunted in the mountains, worked on sub-zero loading docks, whatever, good testing weather for cold gear. So 30 below zero, very survivable. People in the northern country, like Minnesota, up there, they like cold weather. They consider it fun to throw a 17-pound tent instead of a 60-pound tent. 17-pound tent made out of 400 count Egyptian cotton, and put it on a sled with some dogs and go cut a hole in the ice and go off on the backwoods and the back lakes and whatnot in the deep woods, and they call that entertainment. So it can be done. So there's a comment there. Watch the video on wrapping your kidneys. That was a new one to me. Same idea. Keep your blood warm. Keep yourself alive. Maintain body core temperature always. Very critical. You get sluggish, like I said. Your brain slows down. Your blood gets cool. Your brain slows down. Oxygen is deprived, and you start making slower decisions or bad decisions, which end up being disastrous. So I think that, and then another thing that I ran across this week is, along with my, I'll put links down here. I couldn't find them before I started here, but and I'm going to just touch on that, and then call it good for today. The idea of what I had worked on and built, I built two of them, and they both worked great. An in-ground rocket stove that can be built with just stovepipe, but there's people that show on YouTube how to build them using, and I could not find the links. I mean, they're not tagged well at all. I couldn't even find it in my email. I know I linked them, but I don't know where. So using rocks and building a Dakota fire hole where the trench, one guy built one, is German, and it was translated. But he built one using rocks and twigs as the trench cover, rocks in the bottom to store heat, and then a trench cover made out of twigs, and then sod put over that, and in a U-shaped, so it went around. Like if you look at my head here, let's see, that's your sleeping area. So he built it in a U-shape around where he would be sleeping, head or feet, and worked, So whether you want to, it wouldn't technically be a rocket stove because it wouldn't have a heat riser, but, and somebody complained to me about my Dakota fire hole rocket stove, blah, blah, blah. Well, I could have a heat riser in that, obviously. Anybody that look at it, it's 6-inch pipe. Put a short piece of 6-inch pipe in what I called the cooking port, and, insulate that, put a 5-gallon bucket over it, or leave it at 4-inch, put a 6-inch, 4-inch, make the whole thing out of 4-inch, put a 6-inch pipe around that, insulate it, put a 5-gallon bucket on it, you got your heat riser rocket stove, genuine rocket stove. So, I mean, that's like an obvious given, but I'll write them in without getting argumentative. Some people get very, very bent out of shape about, you know, like, this is pretty obvious here. So anyway, that was one thing. And another one, a guy built an in-ground rocket stove, very cool. Ran pipe straight like I did. Went and fired it up. I mean, you wouldn't even know it was there. It was at his campsite, his bug out location, and there was snow on the ground. He fired it up, melted the snow off, steam coming out, and very, very, very efficient. Works. And again, he was calling it a Dakota fire hole. It had a port where you put your fuel in one place, and then another port where you exhaust out of. So technically, you know, I consider a rocket stove that if you have an insulated exhaust port, and that would qualify. I mean, that's what a rocket stove is. Your basic Aprovicho, Larry Winarski designed rocket stove, you can make one out of 6 bricks. That's a rocket stove. So I don't know how anybody could complain about calling, you know, using the ground as combustion chamber, not a rocket stove. Anyway, getting a little bit over techie there. I've been going around with a guy, and this, I mean, some people get bent out of shape, I'll tell you. I'm just trying to help people stay alive, and that's what I'm doing here. So I'm going to put links down below. Look at those. That's probably about it for today. I need to get some other things done here, and I'm going to be doing a video on my solarium where I put double layer poly, and I'm going to try to inflate it. I want to do a video before I inflate it because it looks terrible. The 2-inch pipe that I used, the gray PVC, some of it sagged. You know, I could use angle pieces, and I may do that just to support it in case of failure of, you know, everything. Heavy snow load combined with it's not blown up and there's no heat in it. Yeah, it could do some more serious damage. I think it would just stretch. I don't think it would ever. Then I can go out and knock it off with a broom. But point being, I'd rather have it, you know, maximum insulation and whatnot. So. Oh, these glasses are irritating. Apologize for that. I don't really need them, I guess. I'm not reading right now. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and probably sign off here in a minute. I know not terribly well organized here, but I've had a lot to do today and trying to get, you know, several things done. Oh, I wanted to, on the subject of cold, yeah, that's one thing that's really got me flustered a bit is had a friend call, or, you know, there's people living out in the woods, they're in campers, they're in tents. Guy needs a stove or some way to stay alive and warm in, you know, his tent for the winter. And so, you know, I've been looking at stoves and different methods of heating. Of course, the in-ground, insulate the tent fabric with cenospheres mixed in paint, acrylic paint. People paint teepees all the time. You can paint the whole thing. I did. I airless sprayed mine with cenospheres. Now it's super insulated. I sprayed the outside, but I did painted both sides of the liner. So I've got 3 layers of super insulation in that thing. But on the subject of that, camping out, woods, stove, you know, how do you stay warm in the winter? Insulate your body core. Let me tell you this, the Inuit Indians, if you ever want to read one of the most awesome survival books in the history of mankind, very interesting too. Farley Mowat, the guy that wrote the book Never Cry Wolf, that they made a movie out of with Charles Martin Smith, playing whatever you call it, a botanist, going up and studying the wolves and how did they stay alive, did they eat the caribou, you know, he found out they ate mice, you know, supposedly. But anyway, that book is quite a study. The Inuits up there would wear 2 layers of caribou hide. One, the inside one, their underwear basically, with the hair turned in. Insulate your body core, insulate your body core, insulate your body core. The outer one had the fur out. And so that was their outer waterproof. It would shed rain, it would shed ice. It would, you knock it off, beat it on. The point that came out in the book is, there's a thing where Jesus said, with food and raiment therewith be content, and they're content with that. In other words, they were wearing their shelter. Their clothing was shelter. I may have made that statement before, but with good enough clothing, you're fine. I was working one time. I'd worked, I don't know, 3 shifts in a row, and I was really tired, and I just wanted to lay down and take a nap before I drove home. And snow was on the ground. I don't know what it was. I don't think it was like 30 below or anything, but I was dressed for it. I sat down by the fence, and I was laying down, and a security guard came by and said, "You can't do that. You can't do that." I said, "I just want to take a nap. Leave me alone." He wouldn't let me, so I got up and went home. But anyway, if you're dressed for it, you can survive anything, anywhere. Arctic, Mount Everest, K2, whatever, Kilimanjaro. Just got to dress for it. So protect your body core, insulate your, keep your blood warm where it's exposed, readily exposed at the surface of your body, and that is your kidneys and your carotid arteries. Dig a hole, build a rocket stove or a Dakota fire hole, whatever you want to call it, but you can stay warm that way. No smoke inside your shelter, no smoke outside. A friend of mine mentioned to this kid about doing the rocket stove, and he said, "I'd have to cut a hole in the floor of my tent." So instead, one night he was about ready to freeze to death because he had worked all day and he was sweating, and he was in his truck. I couldn't believe it. He was going to get down to single digits, and his feet were already freezing. Anyway, he's still alive so far. Hope he'll make it through the winter. But a lot of people out there needing answers, and that's what I'm trying to do, trying to help with, trying to help people think through these situations logically, sensibly, and provide some reasoned and available things that you can do with available material, things that you have readily at hand, and things that are entirely possible, capable to do. And you can put up a cardboard box, build a trench rocket stove, whatever the heck you want to call it, and keep the box warm. And I'm saying that, I'm not joking. I mean, I read about a woman that they used to live in a McMansion, and now when she goes to a big box store and sees a big refrigerator box, she says, "That would make a nice bedroom for my children." And so people I know all across this country are in that position, and it's not funny. And then they get out in these tent cities, and the police come in with their gloves and their EMT medical scissors and cut their tents all up. And that was their last investment in their life. They might have a $500, $1,000 tent, and it gets cut into little pieces, so they have to go somewhere else. That's just sick. But I know a lot of people are like that. People living under bridges, people living up under the bridges, literally. I mean, there's a whole city under it. I saw one YouTube. So, that kind of trying to figure out how to prevent, needless deaths for good people across the country. And I'm just kind of rambling here, so I'm going to sign off and call it good. Like I said, I need to get some other things done. So that's about it there. So I guess I could say, that's my sign off thing there. This is Jerry Diamond. If you're listening to this, you are the remnant. So good night, YouTubers. It's night here right now. All right. Bye-bye.